Hello, my friend. Welcome back to the Violet Library. Where are you listening from today? Every evening when you arrive here, the Violet Library waits. A single lantern glows in the tall window, guiding you inside. The heavy oak doors swing open without a sound, and suddenly the noise of the world fades away. Within these walls, time slows. The shelves rise high above you, filled with books that whisper softly to one another. It is quiet here and safe. This is a place for you to rest. Take a slow, gentle breath. Inhale deeply and let it out with ease. Do it again. In and out. With each breath, imagine setting down the weight of the day. The niggling worries, set them down as if you've been carrying too many bags, and now at last you can let them go. Notice the chair beneath you, the soft cushion, the warmth of the lamplight. The library holds you like an old friend. Here, you do not need to do anything or be anyone. You are safe. As you breathe, you may find your body softening. Your shoulders drop a little. Your jaw loosens. Even your hands, which have worked so hard today, all begin to relax. Thoughts may still come, but they don't need to stay. You can let them float away like leaves drifting down a quiet stream. The Violet Library waits for you patiently, inviting you deeper into stillness. There is no rush, no expectation, just peace. Allow yourself to feel gratitude for this moment, for the simple gift of being alive, for the shelter of your room, for the chance to rest. Know that you deserve this. We all do. And now, as you breathe a little easier, imagine yourself walking further inside the library. The shelves glow softly in the golden light, and one book seems to shine brighter than the rest. It has been waiting for you. Tonight, that book will open, and its story will become your dream. Tonight's tale is The Wandering Lantern. In these pages, let the lantern guide you as you journey to the village of Eventide. So get comfortable. Let the day fall away. The Violet Library is ready to share its story with you now. The little village of Eventide rested in a gentle valley, a place where the hills rolled like sleeping giants under thick quilts of heather and soft green grass. The stone cottages, with their roofs of mossy thatch and chimneys that perpetually whispered curls of wood smoke into the air, seemed to grow directly from the earth itself. As the great amber sun began its slow, graceful descent behind the western hills, The world was painted in the tranquil hues of evening: lavender, dusty rose, and the deepest, most comforting gold. This was the hour when the day's clamor softened into a contented sigh, when the blacksmith's hammer fell silent, the market stalls were shuttered, and the scent of baking bread and simmering stew began to drift from every kitchen window. It was the hour that belonged to Amara, the village's unofficial keeper of the dusk, a title bestowed upon her not by any mayor or council, but by the simple, gentle necessity of her evening ritual. For as long as anyone could remember, it was Amara who walked the cobbled paths and the winding lanes at twilight, lighting the old-fashioned lanterns that hung from iron posts, their warm, buttery light pushing back the encroaching violet shadows. Amara herself moved with the quiet grace of the settling night, her footsteps a soft whisper on the cobbles, her presence as comforting as the light she carried. In her hand was a long, polished lighting rod, its tip wrapped in oil-soaked cloth, which she would touch to the wick of each lantern, coaxing a tiny, hopeful flame into a steady, glowing beacon. She knew each lantern not just by its post, but by its particular character. The one on the corner of Miller's Lane had a faint, musical hum when lit. The cluster outside the tea shop threw dancing leaf-shaped patterns on the walls, and the oldest lantern, near the ancient stone bridge, had a flame that burned with a peculiar silvery quality, as if it were capturing the very last light of the vanished sun. She took her time, never rushing, her face serene in the lantern's glow. This was her meditation, her service, her deep and abiding connection to the heart of Eventide. She felt the village settling down for the night around her, a great, gentle creature preparing for slumber, and her lights were its lullabies, each one a soft note in a symphony of peace. On this particular evening, however, as the last sliver of sun vanished and the stars began to prick the velvety navy blue of the sky, something extraordinary occurred. As Amara approached the final lantern, the one that stood sentinel at the very edge of the village, where the cobbles gave way to a dirt path leading into the whispering woods, she saw that it was already lit. But this was no ordinary flame. It did not flicker with the restless, hungry dance of a common fire. This light was a perfect, self-contained sphere of soft, golden luminescence, pulsing gently like a sleeping heartbeat. It was suspended within the glass lantern, without a wick, without oil, simply being. As Amara drew nearer, her own lighting rod forgotten in her hand, the sphere of light drifted forward until it pressed against the glass. Then, with a sound like a tiny, clear bell, the lantern's door unlatched itself and swung open. The sphere of light floated out, bobbing gently in the cool evening air before her. It seemed to be waiting. It felt ancient, kind, and brimming with a silent, patient curiosity. Amara, her heart beating not with fear, but with a profound and wondrous awe, slowly reached out a hand, and the light, which she now understood to be a magical, wandering lantern, drifted forward and came to rest, warm and impossibly light, in her palm. The wandering lantern rested in Amara's cupped hands, not as a thing of fire and heat, but as a presence of pure, gentle warmth, like holding a sunbeam captured from the most perfect summer afternoon. It pulsed softly, and with each gentle rhythm, a wave of profound calm washed over her, quieting the last whispers of daily thought in her mind and replacing them with a serene, wordless understanding. She knew, as surely as she knew the path beneath her feet, that this was an invitation. This was not a light to be left hanging on a post to mark a stationary path. It was a light meant to be carried, to illuminate a journey. She looked from the magical luminescence in her hands back towards the sleeping village, where her own familiar lights now twinkled like fixed stars, guarding the dreams of her neighbors. Then she looked down the dark path that led into the Eldwood, a place of ancient secrets and rustling leaves, a path she had never walked at night. The choice was clear, and it was no choice at all. With a deep, calm breath that tasted of night-blooming jasmine and cool earth, Amara turned her back on the village and took her first step into the unknown, the lantern bobbing happily just ahead of her, casting its golden pool of light at her feet. The world transformed under the lantern's gentle gaze. The path, which would have been a tunnel of impenetrable blackness, was now a ribbon of soft gold. Every pebble, every root, every blade of dew-kissed grass rendered an exquisite detail. The lantern's light did not pierce the darkness aggressively. Instead, it coaxed the hidden beauty of the night into a shy revelation. It glinted on the intricate webs of orb-weaver spiders, turning them into necklaces of diamonds strung between ferns. It caressed the petals of moonflowers that had just begun to unfurl, their alabaster faces glowing with an inner light that answered the lantern's own. The air was alive with the soft, chirping chorus of crickets and the distant, liquid melody of a nightingale, a soundtrack to this silent, magical procession. Amara walked not with destination in mind, but with pure presence, her senses drinking in the serene beauty around her. The lantern moved at a leisurely pace, sometimes drifting to the side to illuminate a particularly interesting moss-covered stone or to peer into the dark, still water of a stream, its light reflecting on the surface like a second, submerged moon. They walked for what felt like both a single moment and an entire lifetime, time itself seeming to soften and stretch in the presence of the wandering lantern. Amara felt no fatigue, only a deepening peace, a sense that she was exactly where she was meant to be, doing exactly what she was meant to do. The lantern was not just lighting a path through a wood. It was, she realized, lighting a path through the night itself, a thread of gentle consciousness woven through the tapestry of dreams. She began to notice subtle changes in its light. As they passed the hollow of a great, slumbering oak, the light pulsed a deeper, greener gold, as if acknowledging the ancient dreams of the tree. When a soft breeze carried the scent of lavender from a hidden clearing, the light shimmered with a faint purple hue. It was responsive, empathetic, a silent companion attuned to the hidden heart of the world. Amara simply followed, her footsteps silent on the path, her mind quiet and open, a willing participant in the lantern's gentle, nightly pilgrimage through the sleeping world. The path led them to a small, circular clearing where the trees bowed inward, their branches creating a natural dome open to the star-strewn sky. In the center of this clearing stood a figure, tall and graceful, who seemed woven from the very fabric of the night. Her gown was the deep blue of the midnight sky, and upon it, countless points of light twinkled and shifted, mirroring the constellations far above. Her long silver hair flowed like a river of starlight, and her hands moved with a slow, deliberate grace, as if she were pulling threads of moonlight from the air itself. This was the weaver of starlight, a dream spinner who collected the loose, happy thoughts of the day and wove them into the pleasant dreams of the sleeping world. Before her, on an invisible loom, shimmering tapestries of light and color took form, depicting scenes of joyful reunions, peaceful landscapes, and playful adventures before slowly dissolving and floating away into the night air to find their dreamers. The wandering lantern bobbed towards the weaver, its light pulsing with a familiar, friendly greeting. The weaver looked up, her eyes like pools of liquid obsidian that also held a universe of stars within them. A smile touched her lips, a gesture that made the constellations on her gown shimmer a little brighter. She did not speak with words, but a sense of welcome and knowing flowed from her, a warmth that settled around Amara like a soft shawl. The lantern drifted close to the weaver's loom, and as it did, its golden light blended with the silvery starlight of the tapestry. Where the two lights met, the dream images became richer, more vivid, and infused with a deep, soul-warming comfort. Amara watched, mesmerized, as the lantern's essence that of gentle guidance and peaceful reassurance, was woven directly into the fabric of the dreams. It was a silent collaboration, a nightly ritual between two ancient forces of comfort, one weaving the dreams, and the other ensuring they were always lit from within by a hope that would last until morning. After a time, the lantern drifted back from the loom, its work complete. The weaver of starlight bowed her head slightly in thanks, her hands never ceasing their rhythmic, soothing motion. As Amara and the lantern turned to leave the clearing, the sound of music reached their ears, not a melody played on any instrument, but the soft, bubbling, crystalline music of water over smooth stones. They followed the sound to a small brook that meandered along the edge of the clearing. This was no ordinary stream. Its water flowed with a faint, ethereal luminescence, and as it cascaded over rocks and dipped into small pools, it created a harmonious, liquid lullaby. This was the brook that sings, and its water was made of collected whispers of contentment, sighs of relief, and soft laughter from the day now past. The lantern hovered over the water, and its light touched the glowing stream. The water seemed to hum in response, its song deepening, becoming even more mellifluous and soothing. The light spread across the water's surface, traveling downstream, and Amara knew that this enchanted water, now blessed by the lantern, would soon feed into quiet springs and wells, offering a deep, refreshing sleep to all who drank from it. Leaving the music of the brook behind, the lantern led Amara up a sloping path that wound its way into softly rounded hills. The air here was even stiller, filled with the scent of rich loam and dry, sweet grass. The hills themselves were enormous and smooth, and as the lantern's light washed over them, Amara realized with a start that they were not hills at all. They were giants, slumbering soundly under blankets of turf and wildflowers, their massive forms rising and falling with the deep, slow rhythm of their breath. This was the valley of slumbering giants, where the great beings of a forgotten age slept their long sleep, their dreams as vast and slow as continents adrift. Each exhalation was a warm, gentle wind that rustled the trees at the valley's edge. Each inhalation pulled the night air deep into the valley, making the stars above seem to twinkle just a little brighter. They were the guardians of deep, restorative sleep, their collective slumber a foundation for the world's own rest. The wandering lantern moved with a new reverence here, its light dimming to a soft, deep amber glow like a single candle in a colossal bedchamber. It drifted slowly past each slumbering form, and as it did, it seemed to soothe them even further. A faint frown of an ancient dream on one giant's stony brow would smooth away as the light passed over it. The restless twitch of a hand large enough to cradle a cottage would still into perfect peace. The lantern was ensuring their dreams were pleasant, that their long sleep remained untroubled by the shadows of the past. Amara walked in silent awe, feeling incredibly small, yet completely safe. The deep, resonant breathing of the giants was the only sound, a primal lullaby that vibrated through the soles of her feet and settled deep within her bones. She felt her own breath beginning to sync with theirs, slowing, deepening, each inhale drawing in the peace of the valley, each exhale releasing the last tiny fragments of tension from her body. At the head of the valley, on a throne of living rock, sat the largest of the giants. But this one was not entirely asleep. Its eyes were half closed, watching over the valley with a drowsy, benevolent vigilance. This was the guardian of breath, the one who consciously maintained the slow, steady rhythm that kept the entire world dreaming peacefully. The wandering lantern floated up until it was level with the giant's immense, kind face. It pulsed its light softly, and the giant's eyes, which were like pools of molten granite, focused on the tiny, brave light. A communication passed between them, silent and profound. The giant gave a slow, nearly imperceptible nod and a sigh of contentment, warmer than the summer wind, washed over Amara. The lantern had delivered its comfort and received gratitude in return. As they turned to leave the valley, Amara glanced back and saw the guardian's eyes finally close fully, a serene smile upon its lips, its breath deepening into the most perfect, restful sleep, assured that the night was in good hands. Their path now descended into a quiet, sunken grove where the air was still and cool. Ancient, gnarled willows wept over a series of small, perfectly still pools of water that shone like black glass in the lantern's light. This was the archive of forgotten moments, a library of memories too delicate, too beautiful, or too peaceful to be held in the busy minds of the waking world. Each pool held a single preserved moment, the memory of a perfect sun-drenched afternoon nap in a childhood garden, the feeling of absolute safety in a parent's arms, the silent, breathtaking beauty of a first snow, the comforting weight of a purring cat on one's lap. These moments were not lost. They were kept safe here, and their tranquil energy radiated through the grove, making it a place of profound and deep silence. The lantern moved from pool to pool, its light reflecting on the dark water, and for a moment, the stored memory would flare to life. Visible in the air above the pool, a flicker of sunlight, a glimpse of a smile, a feeling of pure contentment before settling back into its quiet rest. The lantern paused before one particular pool, smaller than the others, nestled between the roots of a great willow. Its light shone upon the water, and the image that surfaced was not one of Amara's own memories, but one she had forgotten existed in the world. It was a memory of herself, much younger, sitting on her grandfather's knee on the porch of her cottage. He was pointing to the first lantern she had ever lit by herself, his voice a low, warm rumble as he told her the old story of the wandering lantern, a spirit of light that chose a kind heart to walk with it on nights when the world needed extra comfort. She had forgotten the story, dismissed it as a childhood fairy tale, but now, watching the memory play out in the soft light, she understood. This was why the lantern had come to her. It had recognized the keeper of light, the one who already understood the importance of gentle guidance and peaceful vigilance. It was not a random choice. It was a homecoming. The memory faded back into the pool, leaving behind a warmth in Amara's chest. The wandering lantern drifted back to her, and for the first time, it did not lead on ahead. Instead, it simply hovered before her, pulsing softly as if waiting. Amara understood that their journey together was reaching its end for this night. She had been shown the hidden machinery of the night, the gentle forces that work unseen to ensure peace and rest. She had been reminded of her own place in that grand, quiet design. She felt filled with a serenity so complete it was like a tangible thing, a cloak of stars and silence wrapped around her shoulders. She bowed her head to the lantern, a gesture of deepest thanks. In response, the lantern pulsed one last brilliant time, and a single, tiny spark of its golden light drifted away from the main sphere and came to rest on the collar of Amara's coat, where it glowed softly before dimming to a warm, invisible weight, a permanent keepsake of this magical night, a reminder that she was now and forever a part of the journey. The journey back through the Eldwood seemed to pass in the blink of an eye, the path now familiar and welcoming under the guidance of the tiny spark that now resided with Amara. The wandering lantern itself moved more swiftly, its golden light flowing ahead like a river, eager to return to its starting point. The creatures of the night they passed now seemed to acknowledge her. An owl on a branch swiveled its head and gave a soft, recognizing hoot. A fox paused in its hunting to dip its head in respect before melting back into the shadows. She was no longer just Amara, the village lamplighter. She was a lantern bearer, a witness to the night's magic, and the woods recognized her as such. She carried the silence of the valley, the melody of the brook, and the peace of the archive within her, a deep well of calm that would never run dry. she knew the stories now, not as tales to be told, but as truths to be felt in the very core of her being. They arrived back at the edge of eventide just as the first faint hint of pearl gray light began to soften the eastern horizon. The village was still deeply asleep, her own lanterns still burning faithfully on their posts, though their flames were now pale compared to the memory of the magical light that had guided her. The wandering lantern floated to its post near the stone bridge. It hovered there for a moment, its light once again contained within the glass, though it still glowed with its own inner life. It pulsed a soft, farewell rhythm, a promise that this was not a goodbye, but merely a until next time. Amara placed her hand on the cool glass of the lantern, feeling the gentle hum of the magic within. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice barely a breath in the sleeping air. The light flared once, warmly, and then began to gently dim, its purpose for this night complete. Amara walked back through the silent streets of Eventide towards her small cottage. The world felt different, seen through new, wonder-filled eyes. She noticed the way the pre-dawn light made the dew on every spiderweb gleam like 1,000 tiny lanterns. She heard the soft, syncopated rhythm of a sleeping world, a rhythm she now knew was echoed in the breathing of giants and the weaving of dreams. She climbed into her bed, but not to sleep. She simply lay there, watching the sky through her window turn from gray to rose to gold, her hand resting on the tiny, warm spark on her collar. She knew that when the next dusk fell, she would once again take up her lighting rod and walk the familiar paths of her village. But now, it would be different. Now, she would not just be lighting lamps. She would be honoring a secret, silent tradition. She was the keeper of the dusk, and she was a friend of the wandering lantern. And as the sun finally rose, flooding her room with light, Amara closed her eyes, a soft smile on her lips, and drifted into a sleep deeper and more peaceful than any she had ever known. Her dreams filled with gentle, golden light and the quiet, comforting magic of the night. And so, our story comes to a close. The Violet Library is always here for you, its lantern glowing softly in the window, its shelves waiting quietly for your return. Each tale is a gentle companion, and there will always be another waiting when you are ready. As you drift further into rest, know that you are safe, you are cared for. You have given yourself this gift of stillness, and it is enough. May your dreams be kind tonight. May your sleep be deep and restoring. And when morning comes, may you rise refreshed, ready for a new day. Until then, the Violet Library will keep its stories safe for you. Good night, my friend.